everybody! Welcome to your very favorite Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I'm your co-host, Mike L. As always, I'm joined by
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right, and we have a very special guest joining us this week. Why don't you tell everybody who's here?
It's our old buddy Bob Myers. Bob!
Hello, everyone.
Bob, you were here when we discussed Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Indiana Jones. Oh, Sandman. Were you here for Sandman?
Yeah, your beloved Sandman.
Yeah. Is that all of them?
Right.
I think that's it. Yeah, I think this is number 5.
Yeah.
Wow.
Get the smoking jacket.
Yeah, very exciting.
So, Bob, I knew you were reading a lot of X-Men lately, which we'll be talking about here in a minute. So this week I picked Excalibur issue 5 from 1989. Excalibur. Now, last week, Mike L., when I made the pick, you said you were going to pick an Excalibur book coming up because you had never read Excalibur, Mike.
Never. I had read maybe scattered issues later on, like number 50-ish, around there, but never this early stuff. So, funny enough, I was just starting to read Excalibur, so I was going to pick Excalibur for next week, and I was going to pick around 4, 5, or 6. So, it's a crazy coincidence that you picked this issue.
Yeah, because we got to get in before it hits 1990, so we got to stick with the early issues.
That's right.
No, I was just talking to Bob right before the show, and Bob, you told me that you've never read Excalibur until this either.
Yeah, that's true. I read a bunch of X-Men. I was reading up. I got close to this point and stopped a little bit short of this. So before this, I read the Excalibur, The Sword is Drawn or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So I could kind of understand where all these characters came from and what was going on, because I looked at this cover and I'm like, why are these people together? And I was very confused.
Yeah, Excalibur. It came out, I guess the special that Sword is Drawn thing. It was a special edition. I think that was in '88. Then the regular series started, but I was way into it because I just started getting into X-Men around '86, so I was right there when it started, and I probably had about the first 20 or so Excalibur before I got out comics. But
and did Claremont do all those?
Yes. Yeah, the creators are Chris Claremont and Alan Davis, and Claremont wrote the first. Where is it here? I have the notes. Wow, I think. Oh, there it is. He wrote the special edition and the first 19 issues of the regular series, and then he came back. All told, he did 28 of the first 34 issues. Yeah, Claremont was writing a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, no, you're right. Claremont was writing, I'm going to say too much stuff.
Yeah, possibly. My audio felt like it was clicking out there. I was getting like dead air. But all right. Yeah, Claremont was writing all this Excalibur stuff. And he was writing, X Factor? Or no, Louis Simonson was doing X Factor at this time, right? But he was doing Uncanny X-Men. Was he doing New Mutants at this time, or no? That was probably...
No, by this point, Louis Simonson was.
Yeah, but
he was doing... I think he was about to start Wolverine, right?
Sounds about right.
89, yeah.
So he's doing a lot of stuff. So yeah, all right. So Excalibur, for those who aren't familiar with it, it's kind of an offshoot of the X-Men. It stars Shadowcat, little Kitty Pryde, and Lockheed, her little pet dragon, Nightcrawler, Phoenix, Captain Britain, and his girlfriend Megan. Now, Bob, are you familiar with Megan at all? Is this your first?
No. Yeah, I had never met this character Megan before. Like I said, I read The Sword is Drawn, and so she's in that, but I had no idea who she was prior to that.
Yeah,
and I'm still not entirely clear who she is.
It's kind of a weird book because I would describe it as very British, this Excalibur, and it's quirky and a little comedic, and it's really rooted in like interdimensional stuff and parallel worlds. It's kind of rooted in the Captain Britain mythos and not so much the X-Men stuff. Really, the only connection to X-Men stuff is Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat, and Phoenix, and it's basically Captain Britain's world we're dealing with.
Yeah,
that's definitely what I noticed here. It's like, without getting too much into it, it's arcade, but which I always think of as an X-Men villain, but it's definitely more of a Captain Britain story.
Yeah, arcade is the big villain here. Now, Excalibur started because, if you recall, the Mutant Massacre, and Bob, you were saying you just read the Mutant Massacre, right?
Yeah, I read the Mutant Massacre, which is basically where they kill a bunch of the Morlocks, but The X-Men were all still alive when I stopped, and apparently they're not at this point. So I don't know. I actually don't know what happened.
Okay, because of the mutant massacre, though, Shadowcat got hit with Harpoon's little energy spear, and it messed up her phasing powers. So she was basically like a ghost all the time. And Nightcrawler got really injured by Riptide, that dude who could throw the little metal spikes and stuff. So he was off the team. So they were recuperating while the other X-Men went into the fall of the mutants. Mike L., do you remember what happened in the fall of the mutants?
Yeah, now this is a weird story because it took place in all 3 mutant titles, but the actual stories did not connect from what I remember. So in New Mutants, I think they fought someone and Doug Ramsey died. In X Factor, they fought Apocalypse and Angel turned into Archangel. And in X-Men, they fought, I believe it was the Adversary, right? Yeah, and then at the end of the story, I believe this is all from memory from like 25 years ago, but I believe that's when they passed into the Siege Perilous or Perilous.
Perilous, I think.
Perilous.
Something like that, yes.
And they basically somehow they had to make a choice. Like the only way they could survive the battle is they went through this like interdimensional doorway. And when they came out, as far as I know, none of them had their memories, and they all got scattered. Most of them got scattered around the world. So like, what's his name? Colossus was an artist living, I think, in Russia, right? And then some of the other ones, like Rogue, disappeared and went to the Savage Land or something. And I think that's where you got like that weird era in the X-Men when the team was like Forge and like Polaris and some other weird characters. You remember that?
Yeah, I think so. Also, this is how we got Psylocke being the assassin, right?
It came out of that, yeah. This is the weirdest period in X-Men history. Like it's a confusing time.
Well, wasn't this also when they went down to Australia though?
Yeah, that's where they ended up. Like I think once they all kind of like got their crap together, that's when they were in the outback. Yeah, exactly.
But the key is the rest of the world thought the X-Men were dead.
Yes,
because it was broadcast on the news, like they sacrificed themselves to save the world or whatever. So Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler thought they were all dead. So they, what are they going to do now? They got to pick up their lives. And Captain Burton thought his sister Betsy Braddock, Psylocke, was dead. So they all come together and form a team, Excalibur. And yay! So that's pretty good. So that's where we are here. And as I mentioned, the series itself was created by Chris Claremont and Alan Davis. And Chris Claremont had actually co-created Captain Burton back in 1976. And we did a Captain Burton episode of Flea Market Fantasy. So go back and read all about that, or listen all about that. So yeah, the Excalibur Special Edition came out in 1988. And then the regular series started. It ran from 1988 until 1998. And it spanned 125 issues. 10 years, 125 issues. But it has been resurrected several times since then. And I think it might be up to like volume 4 or 5 right now. It started again in 2019. And now it's featuring like Betsy Braddock as Captain Britain. So, I don't know. Bob, I guess you're not up on any of the newest Excalibur stuff.
No, I know nothing about Excalibur. I was actually very surprised to learn that this ran that long. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I also want to quickly point out that later on in Excalibur was what's his name? Warren Ellis had a very long run. And although Warren Ellis in 2021 is known as a big asshole, there was a brief time where he was a big superstar in comics, and he co-created the Authority, and he wrote for Ultimates in Marvel, and he was, he's one of the bigger creators of the last 20 years, and this is like pre-superstardom, so it was kind of an interesting time because he was doing Excalibur, and then later I think he did X-Force as well.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
Yep.
Knowledge of him. Who was the guy that did Moon Knight that rebooted?
Oh, that was Warren Ellis. Yeah.
That's all right. That's what I thought. All right. So let's talk about some of these team members since we're not too familiar with them. Megan, as we mentioned earlier, her first appearance was The Mighty World of Marvel, Volume 2, Number 7, 1983. And The Mighty World of Marvel is a British, kind of like an anthology where they reprinted black and white Marvel issues, and then they'd have new stories mixed in for British people. And she was created by Alan Moore and Alan Davis. You love Alan Moore, Michael.
That's right.
I love Alan Moore. And her deal is she's a mutant shapeshifter, so she can just shape her body into whatever she wants. And she's kind of like very innocent and naive, because her upbringing was kind of like she was off on her own and didn't have anyone taking care of her. Because when she was born as a little itty bitty baby, she looked like a wolf baby because she was cold, so she changed her body to have fur. So everyone thought she was like a little wolf baby, and she was like a monster, and she had to live on her own, even as a little kid and stuff. So yeah, so she's very innocent, I guess you could say. We also have Rachel Summers. Now, Bob, you know Rachel Summers, right?
That one I do know. Yes.
Can you explain who she is?
Not entirely.
Yeah, it's a little convoluted.
So she is Cyclops' daughter from the future come back because she came back in Days of Future Past, right?
Yeah.
Or did she come back before then even?
No, I think that was her first appearance. Yeah.
That was her first appearance?
Her first appearance was X-Men 141, created by Claremont, John Byrne, and later, I guess, John Romita Jr. is given credit for her as well because he developed the character.
And she is Jean Grey's daughter, right?
From an alternate timeline.
From an alternate timeline, yeah. Okay.
Like a timeline where Phoenix did not kill herself at the end of the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah.
She continued to live, and they had a baby, and it was Rachel Summers. Yeah. And but in that alternate timeline, that is the timeline for Days of Futures Past. So, like, mutants started getting hunted down and slaughtered and everything, and she was taken captive by like the tyrannical government or whatever, and she was used as a hound to hunt down mutants and kill them. So she's dealing with all that. But she finally broke free and then somehow managed to come to this timeline. And she embodied the Phoenix Force. So she's like super deluxe powerful and stuff and whatnot. But she can do all that telekinetic and telepathic stuff. Right, Michael?
Yeah. I'm like skimming through her thing, trying to like figure out, because I couldn't remember if so her mother is Jean Grey, but Cable's mother is Madeline Pryor.
Don't even try and
it gets
work it
very
out.
confusing. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's got a lot of emotional issues because she came back and Jean Grey's dead, and then Madeline Pryor shows up, and who the hell knows what's going on there. So yeah, try to figure it out is the right answer.
The very first issue of X-Men I ever bought was Uncanny X-Men 207. And that's a John Romita Jr. cover with Wolverine bringing his claws down the cover. And at the end of that issue, Wolverine basically tries to kill Rachel Summers because she was about to kill Selene, the Black Queen. And Wolverine says, "Hey, you can't just be killing people, so I got to kill you." So he stabbed her. So he like stabbed her with her claws, but she like closed the wounds immediately with her powers, and then she went off into Mojo's world. She was into Mojo's world. Remember Mojo? And Longshot, all that stuff. So she was out there for a while. Because Mojo had the werewolves, right? Were those his little dogs that would hunt people down?
Yeah.
Werewolves? Yeah. Because we see lots of them in Excalibur too, at least in that special edition issue. All right, so we got... Oh, go ahead, Mike.
So I didn't realize the guys were from Mojo. I guess, I don't know. I've got everything mixed up. I don't know. I can't keep it straight.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were, right? Yeah.
That's how I understood it in that special issue. Yeah. But also what I know of the Mojo world is understanding the Mojo world is not a thing most people can do.
Yeah, it's very complicated. All right, so that's Rachel and Megan. We already talked Captain Britain on the Captain Britain episode, and everybody knows Nightcrawler and Kitty Pryde, right? So that's all we have to talk about. But the villain here is Arcade. Arcade. Michael, you're familiar with the Arcade?
Yes, and one of the first issues of X-Men I ever bought was the classic X-Men reprint of X-Men fighting Arcade in whatever classic issue that was by Claremont and Byrne. Remember?
Yeah, his X-Men appearances were issues 122, 123, 124, 145, 146, 147, 177, 197, and 204.
So it was the early one, the first one.
Yeah, the 122 one.
Right.
Yeah, that's when so for those who don't know who Arcade is, his first appearance was actually Marvel Team Up 65 and 67 in 1978. And Michael, he teamed up, the team up there was Spider-Man and Captain Britain.
Cool.
Yeah. Because remember, Captain Britain was Spider-Man's roommate for a little bit at college.
I forgot about that.
Yes. For a little bit, Captain Britain came, that's how they introduced him to American audiences. They brought him over and he was Spider-Man's roommate. And they got trapped by Arcade. And Arcade was created by Claremont and John Byrne. And his history is a little shady. They don't know if he's telling the truth or he's lying or whatever. But the basic idea of his history is that he's the son of a billionaire. And on his 21st birthday, he killed his father and inherited his fortune. And then he became a professional assassin. But he got so bored just killing people in the normal way, he created his murder world, which is basically like an amusement park for killing people. And he would like kidnap them, put them in the murder world, and that's how he would kill his assassination victims, I guess. So that's good old arcade. And he's a little dude with red hair, and he's always smiling. And his assistants are Miss Locke and Mr. Chambers. We see both of them in this issue as well. A couple other characters in this issue. Courtney Ross, Captain Britain's girlfriend. Her first appearance was Captain Britain 3, 1976, created by Claremont and Herb Trimpe.
Right, Herb Trimpe.
Then we got Saturnine. Her first appearance was Captain Britain, Volume 2, Number 2, 1985, created by Jamie Delano and Alan Davis. She's the queen of an alternate Earth who was married to Captain Britain on that Earth, but they were like evil. They weren't good. And then Captain Britain went over there. He swapped places with that Captain Britain, and yeah, it gets all confusing. We also have the Crazy Gang. There's Tweedledope, the Knave, Jester, Executioner, and the Red Queen. They first appeared in Mighty World of Marvel, Volume 2, Number 11, 1985, created by Alan Moore and Alan Davis. And now, Michael, do you know the name Jim Jaspers? Does that ring any bells?
I don't think so, no.
Well, there's a big Captain Britain story called Jasper's Warp.
And I read that. Yeah, Alan Moore, right?
Yeah, your buddy Alan Moore. It's very good. And Jim Jaspers was like the Prime Minister of the UK, but he was secretly a mutant, and he had reality warping powers, and he was making everything crazy and whatnot. And he created the Crazy Gang so they could be his friends, because that's how crazy he was. He just created them out of his imagination and brought them to life. And that's the Crazy Gang. Also, we'll get to the other stuff later, I guess, when we encounter it. So I think those are all the key players we have here. Bob, any questions about Excalibur before we get started here?
I don't think so. I don't even know what I would ask.
All right, well, I guess let's just get right into it. Mike, let's look at the cover.
Sure. And before I do that, I got to point out that I'm reading these issues in the Marvel, what is it called? The Epic Collections, which are, high quality, bright paper. And unfortunately, these digital scans we're looking at are blurry as F. So I'm having a hard time reading them, but I'll do my best here. So, we've got our late 80s Marvel logo that's a little bit different, as I pointed out. The price is different. This is $1.50 or $2 in Canada, because this was on, I believe, thicker paper and there was no ads, right? As far as I know. Yeah, I think it was a direct sales only comic book. So,
but it has the little UPC thing there at the bottom there.
Oh, good point. I could be wrong then. I guess it's just more expensive because it was in better paper, I think, like Wolverine.
What were books going for in 1989?
It would have been I think $1. As far as I remember, either 75 cents or $1. So this would have been like a little bit more expensive. Right. Yeah. But anyway, so we've got our corner box here with the 5 members. We've got our pretty cool Excalibur logo here with the 2 swords as the X's, and then the big, Excalibur sword behind the words. I like that. And then we've got our caption, which kind of ruins the cover, but this one's gonna kill you, arcade. What? Yeah,
we don't need that. It looks like it was added on late, right?
Right.
Like the font and the letters don't even match like the balloon or anything. So.
Yeah, like we'll talk about this later, but obviously Alan Davis is a great artist, and this is a really nice cover where we've got, I don't remember who's who, but the clown guy.
That's the Jester.
The Jester kicking Nightcrawler's ass, like literally. And Nightcrawler's like flying through the air. And then behind him is that Megan possessed? Oh no, that's just Megan, right?
She's losing control of her shape-shifting powers.
Right. And she's fighting
some pies.
Yeah.
A bunch of pies.
And then in the background you see is that Courtney being chased by Death or whoever that is?
The Executioner and the Red Queen. Notice they colored her dress red, even though it's supposed to be blue, like Alice in Wonderland.
Right. Good point. I guess, the wall's blue. They should have made the wall brown or something.
But she was a brighter blue. I guess I don't know why they
screwed that up. Yeah. And then below that you see Lockheed chasing
Miss Locke.
Okay, Miss Locke. And then you see Tweedledope. And who's the other guy?
The Knave.
The Knave fighting Captain Britain. And in the foreground you see what's his name? Arcade, kind of like laughing so hard he's crying and holding his head. And that's pretty much it. I think it's a really good cover. It's a little bit, it lacks a kind of like a center of attention, but other than that, I think it's a great cover.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, I mostly like it. My only complaint, and I don't know how you fix it, is Arcade's really enjoying the show that he's not watching. It's all going on behind him.
Well, I guess he had seen enough and he turned around because he just can't take it anymore.
Okay,
He's laughing.
I guess
so hard.
that's what's going on.
But we should mention
I like
like
it.
the little pies they're fighting. They're like these actual pies with faces and arms and legs, and they're like dancing and stuff, and they're angry and living pies. About that.
Right.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Take it away, Michael.
We open up the story with Courtney Ross falling through this trapdoor into Murder World and like falling down the slide. And as she's falling down, she gets disrobed, so to speak, and then thrown into this Alice in Wonderland dress that gets automatically zipped up by these machines. And she continues to go down the slide. And when she gets to the bottom, she's standing at the feet of the Crazy Gang.
Yes, in the physical bodies of the Crazy Gang, we see Tweedledope, the Jester, and the Knave. But something sneaky's going on here, Michael.
Besides the fact that their bodies are switched?
Yeah, their bodies are switched.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so it's just... Yeah, I don't know why they did that, but they did.
Because it makes for madcap hijinks. Yeah. So in issue 4... At the end of issue 4, all Excalibur, their minds went into the bodies of the Crazy Gang, and the Crazy Gang's minds went into the bodies of Excalibur. So Captain Britain is now in Tweedledope. Megan is in the body of the Knave, I believe. Rachel Summers is the Executioner. Although her body's just there. Like, she's just the Executioner. Like, she doesn't have it. No one's in a Rachel Summers body. Same with the Red Queen. She's just the Red Queen. And Nightcrawler and the Jester have swapped. So.
It's funny because I want to point out that the Knave is obviously Megan because she has the classic Chris Claremont thought bubbles, like looking at Courtney, she's like, she's so beautiful. No wonder Brian has eyes and thoughts only for her lately. It's cool. I don't mind it, but
I love the art here by Alan Davis because he makes Captain Brittany standing like Tweedledope, like
right. Yep.
Yeah, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, very good. And they're in this kind of like, it looks like a psychedelic kind of like castle behind them, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's like Alice in Wonderland.
Right. Yeah, this is really cool. So basically, Courtney is trying to figure out what's going on. Oh boy. I love Chris Claremont, but this is tough. I gotta say, it's tough.
I'm with you, sir.
Yeah, like it's just people talking at each other, and then they just start fighting. And then they're just fighting, and Courtney is trying to figure out what's going on. She doesn't know, and it's all this whimsical banter between everybody, right, as they fight. And there's this shot of Captain Britain biting the ass of Tweedledope, but okay, I'm trying to understand who's in what body now.
Yeah, Captain Britain, the real Brian Braddock is in Tweedledope's body, so he's the one getting bit on the ass, and then Tweedledope is in Captain Britain's body. He's the one doing the biting.
And then and actually, this is the point where Courtney Ross figures out what's going on because, oh no, it's not yet. She doesn't figure it out yet, but she figures it out soon. So she's trying to run away from this fight. Then we cut over to what's his name, Arcade, in his little, what do you call this, control room, and he's watching everything happen. But then Shadowcat comes in with Lockheed and uses her phasing powers to disrupt the computer, and then grabs Arcade and pulls him through like the console. And then Lockheed stays behind to kind of like guard, I guess, to make sure that his assistants don't mess with the controls or whatever.
Hey, Bob, you a big fan of Lockheed?
I like Lockheed. I don't know if I'm a big fan, but I love the idea of Lockheed. It's ridiculous, but I like it.
Yeah, it's so strange. Just a little dragon. But Michael, how did they get Lockheed again? I can't remember.
Oh, great question. Honestly, I don't even remember. It might have been during... I think it was during one of the Brood battles.
That's what I was going to say.
They were out in space, and he was alien of some type that kind of stuck with them. I think they were fighting the Brood.
And then when they came back from Secret Wars, remember they brought a little dragon with them? And then that dragon got really big on Earth, though. It was like huge.
Right. It was the Dragons in Love story, I remember.
Yep, Lockheed and the big dragon.
Yeah.
Because Lockheed's always really horny. That's one of his traits. He's a little horny dragon. Yeah. So
yeah, I love all this stuff, but ideally, when you have mutants, you wouldn't also have dragons. But that's just me,
I hear
But
you.
it's just the one dragon. It's okay.
Well, okay, fine.
Let's pretend it's a mutant.
There you go.
It's
It's an alien, so it's not really a dragon. It's an alien that's shaped like a dragon.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a little space monkey.
We'll give him a pass.
So when Kitty Pryde phased through that control panel, it made all of Murder World go wonky. Like all the sets started falling apart. And
Yeah, this one bothered me a little bit, and because I don't remember exactly, but I feel like Arcade has dealt with Kitty Pryde before, or Shadowcat, and would know that she messes up electronics because that's kind of one of her big jams.
Well, what can he do? He needs the electronics.
You don't bring her into Murder World for one thing.
Well, see, I don't know if he did because.
Okay, I don't know what happened before this, so.
Because she's the only one who didn't get caught. I think she was hiding when the others got swapped, and then she followed them.
Okay, that makes sense then. I'll accept that.
Yeah, so, because I just flipped through the end of issue 4 there to see how it led in, and she was separated from them, and then I think she trailed them in here. So I don't think he intended for her to be here. But yeah.
Okay, plot hole averted.
So now Courtney is like kind of falling through Murder World, and we see that like you said, all the levels and floors are all kind of bending around and twisting, and then she gets confronted by Death, but Death is actually Phoenix.
Yeah, Executioner.
Executioner, yeah. And then basically she runs away, and then now we cut back to Shadowcat arguing with Arcade. And I just got a message. Is that from you guys? Okay, I don't know who that's from. Anyway, and then basically, so now, what's his name? Arcade is now, he's in danger from Murder World as well. So Shadowcat's happy with that, so she leaves him to it.
Yeah, she just drops him off in Murder World so he can play in his own little death trap. So.
Right. So then we cut over to Courtney again, and basically now. She gets interrupted by Arcade being chased by the Executioner, and is this? I keep looking for the part where she figures out that they're swapped, but it's not here yet.
No, I think it's later.
Yeah. So then we cut over to
Nightcrawler grabs her.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was trying to figure out what it was. Okay, yeah, that's right. Nightcrawler grabs her, and then we cut away, so we don't know what's happening yet.
But of course, Nightcrawler is the Jester in
Right. Then we cut over, and again, we'll talk about this later, but this is my least favorite twist in the book, where Kitty Pryde just reuses a trick that she used in a previous story. I guess it was in X-Men 199. The last time she figured out how to defeat Arcade was her and Doug Ramsey designed this computer program. She's like, after that time you grabbed me in Colossus, Doug Ramsey and I, back when we were the Team Supreme of hackers, put our heads together and came up with this nifty program designed to turn Murder World from your playground to mine. So I guess he didn't figure out a way to fight that program or virus, so she's using the same trick again.
Yeah.
So now this is where it gets even more confusing for me. Because then she goes into the next room and she comes into a scene where I don't know what the hell's going on. This is like a Confederate general sitting having tea with, who is he having tea with?
Just some dude.
And so Kitty Pryde like comes to the wall and she's like, "What's this?" Douglas giggle, "What looniness did you put in this software? Wish you'd lived to see it come to life," because Doug Ramsey's dead. Yeah. Then she goes to another room and she sees this guy dressed up with like a Roman centurion helmet.
That's Arcade.
Oh, that's Arcade, is it?
Yeah, he donned weapons and stuff to try and survive Murder World. Yeah.
You can tell because of the bow tie.
Yeah.
The big giant yellow bow tie, the red dots. Right. The only complaint I have about Alan Davis' art in this entire issue is he kind of makes Arcade look jacked, small but jacked.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
It does.
He's got pretty big arms and shoulders. But,
Well, maybe Arcade started working out.
yeah, I suppose it's possible. Yeah.
So then she scares him by phasing her hand through his body and like having it come out his chest. And then he spits his cigar out. He's so scared. And then he shoots these 2 guns at her, but she can just phase, and so they have no effect on her. So then she just goes through the floor and takes off. So then we cut over to Nightcrawler, who's not Nightcrawler. It's
The Jester.
The Jester, and he has got Courtney tied up to this death device, or what do you want to call it? Like this big
a conveyor belt before a big spinning saw.
Right. And then the Knave comes in, but the Knave is actually
that's Jester.
Oh, that's Jester.
But that's actually Nightcrawler.
Oh, jeez, yeah. And then Nightcrawler says, "I am the Jester. My colleague is the Knave." And then who? Oh, what? Yeah,
the Jester says, "Unhand her Knave," using Knave general, and then Nightcrawler says, "I am the Jester. My colleague is the Knave specific."
Right.
You understand? All right.
Yeah,
it's a little play on words.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they fight with swords, and then meanwhile Courtney's about to get killed, but then someone comes in with a knife and rescues her, and it's Arcade.
Yeah.
But then she ends up punching Arcade in the face. That's a great shot, by the way.
Yeah.
And then, but she ends up tripping on these what are those, like, not marbles, but whatever they are that fell out of this thing.
They're literally marbles. She says, "Marbles, losing my balance."
It looks like it should be a gumball machine, but it is in fact marbles.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's just a bucket of marbles.
I have a bucket of marbles right next to me. What, you guys don't have buckets of marbles? Weird.
And then she falls through another trapdoor and ends up on a rocket, and just this kind of rocket just flies away with her on it.
Yeah, big phallus-shaped rocket between her legs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's definitely not a Star Wars sand speeder. They definitely didn't rip off that design.
Good point.
It's not actually. It's not. It's ripped off of Dan Dare, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah?
Okay.
Which is a British superhero, and that ship is called the Anastasia. So, and it dates back to like pre-Star Wars, I think.
Oh, right? So Star Wars ripped it off from them?
Possibly.
Could be.
I mean, it's not exactly alike, but it's definitely close enough.
Yeah.
Huh. All right then. Learned something new.
Yeah.
So then we cut back to the control room, and what are the assistants? What are their names again?
Miss Locke and Mr. Chambers.
Yeah, so Miss Locke and Mr. Chambers are like trying to figure out a way to combat Lockheed. And so Mr. Chambers has like this almost like a hazmat suit with like a shield, and he runs towards Lockheed. Lockheed shoots his fire, and he has like this little like what is it called? Like almost like a fire extinguisher thing. What's that?
Yeah, fire extinguisher.
Yeah. And then you see Lockheed coughing. It's kind of funny. And I don't know. Then he runs away with like half of his leg burned. And because Lockheed attacked him. Yeah, we hear just like this is like a comedy thing. Like off panel, we hear thud, bardam, bite, wham, bash, and then we just see what's his name, Mr. Chambers running away, like his clothes are half destroyed, his leg is bare. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, and he says, good luck getting rid of that little terror there. We'll need an army. And Miss Locke says, "Hardly. She's going to seduce Lockheed." She starts looking all sexy.
There you go.
Because Lockheed's a horny little space monkey dragon. Yeah. So then we come back to the big fight, and we got Megan and the Knave fighting, Michael.
Right. Megan and the Knave are fighting, and Courtney's in the background flying around on this big dick. And just flies through. What does that say on the doors? Is this space?
The Space Wars.
Hey, that's my thing. I came up with that when I was a kid. Anyway. So she flies through this little doorway into this like kind of black room where now we see the Executioner, we see the Red Queen, she ends up flying right into Captain Britain, who's actually Tweedledope. And then she ends up falling through another like almost like a black hole.
Because Tweedledope comes and saves her. Of course, it's Captain Britain.
Right.
Tweedledope. Yeah.
Right. I guess it's supposed to be kind of surreal, like Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
That kind of work, but in a way. Anyway,
got to go with it, Michael. Just embrace
it. so anyway, so then she lands, and now this is where the big pie confrontation, right?
Yeah, all these little pies.
These little pies with faces and like cherry noses. And then we see this woman standing there, and she's like, "Hi, we're the band." And we see like this drum kit with the word the cat's laughing on it. She's like, "Steve on drums, Adam on guitar, Nikki Falcon on bass."
Yeah. Now get a load of this. Cats Laughing is a real band.
Really?
Yes. And they're a rock folk band, I guess. They started in the early 80s. And I guess Chris Claremont was a big fan of them. And so in X-Men like history, Kitty Pryde is on record as saying Cats Laughing is her favorite band.
Okay.
like there's another issue where she was on her way to a Cats Laughing concert and something happened. And so, and these people are all real people. And they were actually, in real life, these people were also fantasy and sci-fi writers. And the guy on drums,
really?
I guess, is like a very famous fantasy writer, but I don't know. Stephen Burst, I think his name is.
Yeah, when I saw these people, I'm like, these are clearly real people, but I just don't know who they are because they look very specific, you know.
Yep.
And so in the midst of that, of her trying to figure out what's going on there, we see Captain Britain and Tweedledope fall through this trapdoor, land on the pies, splooch, and then the band is playing, and then all the rest of the characters end up falling into the pies, and then the band starts playing a song. Let's see. Okay, again, this is blurry when I'm trying to read this. What does it say? Boom. No, I can't read that. Is it born never to be
eaten, only thrown into someone's face, the cheapest of laughs, the most awful and final of fates?
I wonder if this band knows that Marvel owns them now, but anyway.
Well, interestingly enough, Claremont always spelled the band's name Cats Laughing *S, where I guess the band spells it without the apostrophe, so multiple cats laughing.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's the way to get around the trademark. Or
there you go.
But,
so while this
the song's just about pies, dying, I guess.
So while this madcap, action is going on in the background with all the pies fighting, all the characters fighting the pies, we see one pie in the foreground saying, "I can't take this anymore. It's a nightmare. The death, the mutilation, the horror," and like looking into the camera or looking at the viewer. And then what's her name? Courtney sees Tweedledope, right?
Yes, but it's actually Captain Britain.
It's actually Captain Britain, and then he gets jumped by Captain Britain, who's actually Tweedledope. And then she turns.
But Tweedledope gives her a gizmo. It's the thing that they use to swap their minds. Because even though Tweedledope's like a dope, he's also like a genius with technology and stuff like that. So in issue 4, he used the same device to swap their bodies and minds or whatever. So Captain Britain as Tweedledope is giving it to Courtney so she can try and fix everything.
Right. So then Shadowcat shows up. And she's like, "I'm Shadowcat, Excalibur. That's a variation on the gizmo Tweedle used to switch bodies for the first time. Blah, blah, blah. I'll bet he's gimmicked up a reversal module. All you have to do is lay it across their backs. That should do the trick." So she convinces her that she's got to do it. So Courtney Ross runs into battle and basically...
Well, because Shadowcat can't do it because she can't control her phasing power. So if she touched it, she would break it. So
Right. So Courtney runs in and basically she uses the device on Megan, and Megan switches back from her crazy shapeshifted form to like normal Megan. And then Megan punches out
smoking hot blonde Megan.
Yes.
With pointy ears.
Right. And then she uses it on who next? Nightcrawler?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, Nightcrawler. And then he's fine, and then the Executioner. And then she
can't use it. She tries to use it on the Executioner, but it doesn't work. And Shadowcat phases the Executioner through Courtney so she doesn't chop her head off.
That's cool, yeah.
Because she was just possessed. She didn't actually swap bodies with anybody. Her mind was just like controlled somehow.
Right,
so then Shadowcat phases into Phoenix's body and like opens up her mind so Phoenix can read her mind. And that like I don't know. That seems weird. But then
Yeah, it does.
that kind of wakes up
That's the
Phoenix.
part that seemed weird.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm with you through all the talking pies and everything, but yeah, facing in her body and opening up her mind so she can snap out of it's a little weird. So yeah, Phoenix comes to and she like just uses the Phoenix Force, and all the pies just blow up and everyone's covered in pies. The end. Yeah. So there you go.
Yep. Switches everybody back.
Yeah.
And then the cops arrive, and okay, now this is okay. I'm not gonna say this is where it gets weird, but it gets even more. You'll see. So the cops arrive, and then everyone's kind of like recovering, and then like Arcade is being arrested by the cops and taken out. And at this point, I realize Arcade's basically like a Batman villain. He's almost like the Joker, right?
You
He's
know
like
what? I'm sorry, but Bob, you know what Arcade's kind of looking like, all jacked. Remember when Carrot Top got real jacked?
He does look a lot like jacked Carrot Top.
So I'm looking at him there when the
Yeah.
cops are bringing him out. He's like, "Oh, that's jacked Carrot Top."
Yeah. He's got those cannonball shoulders. He's huge.
Like, yeah, are you familiar with Carrot Top up in Canada?
I remember him. Yep. I
Yeah,
haven't
prop
thought
comedian.
about him in 26 years, but yeah.
Yeah, suddenly.
Oh, so you don't know jacked Carrot Top?
No, not at all.
Yeah, because he was just an average like redheaded dude, and then like he went away for like a year or two, and then he came back and he's like Arnold Schwarzenegger as Carrot Top. He was like, huge. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at pictures. This is this is like weird, off-putting.
Yeah, so that's like Arcade is jacked Carrot Top. All right. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. Back to the story. Ooh. Anyway, I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight now. Anyway, so Arcade is being taken away, and he's like, to tell the truth, or tell the truth now, Excalibur. Admit it to yourselves, if not to me. Wasn't this fun? And so then we follow Courtney Ross back to her apartment, and she's like, "Swites, huh?
You're jumping ahead a little bit here. You're skipping that. Megan's looking jealous of Captain Britain.
Oh yeah, but that's
blanket
I mean,
around Courtney's shoulders. Shadowcat's yelling at Lockheed for being a horny little dragon because he let Miss Lock go, or she batted her eyelashes at him.
Shame.
Yeah. Dragon. And then Nightcrawler is looking at Megan and Captain Britain, and he's like, "Uh-oh, that's not looking so good. There's going to be trouble." Because the previous issue, Nightcrawler and Megan almost kissed. So look out.
That's right. That's right.
All kind of internal conflict coming in here.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we cut back to Courtney's apartment, and she's in like a little slip and a robe, getting ready for a date with Brian Braddock. Good old Captain Britain. They're going to go on a date.
Right. Okay, now this is a weird moment. So all of a sudden, there's someone at her door.
Yeah, that's Saturnine.
Right. Well, that's the thing is, I'm reading this comic and I don't really know who Saturnine is. Well, maybe I do. But she's like, "Oh no, not again. Who's there? Step into the light, blast it, where I can see you." And the Saturnine's standing there. We cut to an exterior and there's this explosion of light. Zap.
Yep.
And then.
Yeah, for someone like me who has no Captain Britain history, I had no idea what was going on, which I accepted was probably intentional.
But if you have Captain Britain history, you know who she is. And I think she probably appeared in the first 5 issues at some point.
Okay, that makes more sense then.
So then we cut to Brian Braddock and Nightcrawler hanging out in a pub, just having a beer, and he's talking about how, he's in love with, he loves Megan, his girlfriend, but now that he's been hanging out with Courtney for the past issue, he's kind of like having second thoughts, right?
Well, Courtney's his ex, yeah, so they have a long history together. And,
yeah, I should mention that, yeah. And so he's like trying to figure out what to do and blah, blah, blah. and he's like, I love Megan, but there are parts of me she can't touch.
Yeah,
and then
like,
and then Nightcrawler's like, whereas Courtney can. And I love this pure Claremont little ending to the scene, like as Brian's like flying away, Nightcrawler's like, "Take care, Brian. Be very careful. Sooner or later you'll have to deal with it and the consequences. We already know you're a hero. That's when you'll discover if you're a man." Pure Claremont right there, right?
Because I guess Braddock's issue with Megan is she is so innocent and like, the world, like, yeah, she's so dependent on him. Where Courtney's her own woman, and he doesn't feel as responsible for Courtney. Like, it's a little more relaxing, a little more comfortable. Not as tense, having to always worry about her. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Also, she's a world-class banker, which that's just a plus to have.
Part of the Illuminati. Yeah, I love it. So then, yes, he goes to Courtney's apartment.
Yeah, so then he comes home. Okay, again, this is where we got to discuss this in detail later, as far as Claremont goes. He comes home and he says, "Courtney, he sees Saturnine? Is that who he thinks he sees?
That's Courtney, but he thinks, wow, she looks like the spitting image of Saturnine. Because Courtney Ross is Saturnine, like this world's version of Saturnine. You know how they all have like alternate, like,
right.
It's very hard to explain. But like she is this world's Saturnine. Even though she never knew Saturnine existed, because she's a normal human. She had no concept of this. And Brian Braddock doesn't think Saturnine could possibly be here because she's on another world, so.
So is it that they look mostly alike with different hairstyles?
Yeah, but then when Saturnine combs her hair different, she looks exactly like Courtney Ross. Yeah.
That's kind of what it. Yeah, so they look the same, but once the hair is different, it's like, oh, now she looks like Saturnine. Okay,
but this is the thing is okay. So she's changed her hair in the last 2 pages. Okay, but it's okay. So then she's like, I never realized she's Saturnine's twin, and then they chat for a minute, and but now let's be clear, this is Saturnine.
Yeah, because she's been real aggressive with him, like being real sexually aggressive. And like she goes in to kiss him, and you can see that her little slip slides up her thigh. She's a tattoo of a Saturnine tattoo on her thigh. So like if you know Saturnine, you know that's her.
Right. But I don't. Neither does Bob. So, but then we cut to the last page, and now we see that Courtney Ross is like, whatever you want to call that, like
her silhouette on the ground is like ashen silhouette of someone being zapped.
Like she's been disintegrated.
Yeah.
So so I did just read up on what comes later. Like I don't want to spoil this, but as far as I know, this is Courtney Ross's last appearance. She's dead.
She gets
placed by Saturnine, and like no one finds out for like 55 issues or something.
Yeah, right? She just takes it over her body. And like,
wouldn't he? I mean, I'm not gonna speculate about what they do in the next couple panels, but
you think I
feel like he'd see that tattoo pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
You would think, yeah, but I don't know. So I guess not. But yeah, like even today, like people. From what I was reading, like people still see Courtney Ross, and they don't know if she's somehow been resurrected. Like this is the real Courtney Ross because she was resurrected because of House of M, or if it's still Saturnine pretending to be Courtney Ross. There's still some debate whether if it's Saturnine or not. So yeah.
So okay, I gotta say a couple things before we get into anything else. I've been reading a lot of Claremont lately, and I think the key problem is that too many of these twists assume that I've read, Captain Britain. I've read not even Captain Britain, even the device that switches everybody's bodies back. What if I haven't read the last issue? Wouldn't it be nice to just slip that in somewhere at the beginning? Because they don't, do they?
But Kitty Pryde explains it. I mean,
okay, I'm just saying that it would have been nice at the beginning of the story if somebody would have just showed it. I don't know.
I see where you're coming from, but also having read a lot of Claremont lately, there is almost nothing worse than every issue of X-Men, every character explaining what their powers are because he assumes you've never read an X-Men comic before.
You're right. It's like two extremes. You're right.
But I don't think this is extreme. I think this is fine. I don't have a problem with it at all. I don't like if I'm reading this and I don't know who Saturnine is, I'm like, oh well, who is that? I need to find out who that is. I should read the other stuff.
I didn't know who she was, but it was like, I'm sure if I were reading this series, I would know who she is.
Okay, but let's put it this way: maybe there's not an issue with just having her show up this way, but isn't there an issue with only Captain Britain realizing they look the same at this exact moment? Isn't that a little odd?
Well, he hasn't seen Courtney in a long time either. This is the first time I've seen her in a long time.
Okay.
So, I mean, I get like he had it. I think he had another encounter with Saturnine recently, and then like he hadn't seen Courtney in a long time. So now that he had seen Saturnine recently, he comes. Oh, I'd never realized how much she looks like Saturnine. So I think it's all just the chronology of things. It fits if you read the whole thing, but.
Huh.
Now, when he knew Saturnine, did he know Saturnine? In that, would he have seen this tattoo before?
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, to the sense where he would have seen this tattoo previously.
I can't remember. Because, like, from what I remember of the story, I can't even remember if it happened in Captain Britain or if it happened in the first 4 issues. I don't think it was in the first 4 issues of this series. But, like I said, on that other world, he swaps places with the other Captain Britain. And then that Captain Britain comes back here, and he ends up dying. I think Betsy Braddock kills him. I think. See, so this is probably in the Captain Britain and the Britain stuff over, in the British Marvel. But that Captain Britain was evil. So when our Captain Britain was in that world, he kind of opposed Saturnine because she was an evil villainess. So I don't know if they actually, but she wants revenge on Captain Britain and everybody because they killed her Captain Britain. Does that make sense? And I guess Alan Moore, blame your buddy Alan Moore for all this, Miguel. He's the one who created all this, because I guess there's like a Captain Britain corpse. Like there's a whole, like kind of like the Green Lantern people. There's Captain Britons in all these other dimensions.
Right.
So they're all in different worlds and parallel universes, and so yeah, it's confusing. But.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've said quite a bit. Bob, what do you think?
I didn't love it. I wanted to, because I love arcade, and I thought this was going to be great. I think my biggest problem was, and it's not even like the weird surrealness, I think it was it sort of just felt like we're shoehorning in the Alice in Wonderland stuff and this Dumble D gang or whatever they're called.
Crazy gang.
The crazy gang. I think if they weren't, I mean, obviously the story would be much different if they weren't, but I just didn't really enjoy them and the whole Alice in Wonderland thing. I don't know. But I guess once you've been to Murder World like 8 times, you've got to come up with something different. So
yeah. And again, these crazy gang people, they were established previously in Captain Britain. So if you're into Captain Britain, you'd be happy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just jumping in, and I'm like, I have no idea who these people are. I'm like, why would Arcade create all these weird things? So it makes more sense, I'm sure, if I knew what was going on. But as a one-off, it's hard to enjoy.
And it actually makes sense for Arcade to be here because Captain Britain was in his first appearance, which I did not know until researching this issue, that Captain Britain and Spider-Man and that Marvel team-up. So,
yeah, I didn't know that Arcade had a backstory, which I guess is interesting, but I kind of like not knowing it, and just Arcade's just this weird guy that just pops up.
Well, the biggest problem I had with Claremont's writing here is there's a lot of times where, like, he'll just have Courtney, like, explaining what's happening in the panel. Like, marbles. I stepped on marbles. I'm losing my balance. Yeah, we can see that, Chris. We don't need.
Well, no, that one was pretty necessary because even Michael couldn't tell what was going on there. That one, I think didn't need an explanation.
I suppose you could have said marbles, but like when that ship, the same thing. It happened a lot in this issue.
Yeah, it did happen a lot.
Times, where he's just the dialogue and the thought balloons are just describing the action going on in the panel.
Yeah, there were more thought balloons than there needed to be in this book. Even for something as weird as this, like, I felt like I was reading more than I needed to for something weird and surreal. Let my imagination take me through the story.
Yeah, now I mentioned Claremont, like we said, he wrote 28 of the first 34 issues of this. He also wrote all 14 issues of Excalibur Volume 3 in 2004-2005. Now get a load of this. That Excalibur, nothing to do with this team at all. What they suffer. Yet for some reason they called it Excalibur. Michael, did you ever hear of that series?
I guess heard of it.
Professor X and Magneto rebuilding Genosha or something?
It's just, that's when Marvel went off the rails. Like, again, why use that name, right? Like,
it makes no sense.
Right.
Why would you call it Excalibur? It doesn't have to do with Excalibur.
Right.
And then after that, I guess there's an all-new Excalibur where Juggernaut was a member of the team. And
well, I mean, everybody loves Juggernaut, so we'll allow that.
Well, they fight Juggernaut in issue 3, I believe, of this series. Juggernaut shows up for a little bit. But, I don't know. Man, Excalibur. Marvel, they just too many cooks. You know what I'm saying? Too many cooks.
Right.
Too many.
It was better when Jim Shooter was running everything, right?
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about Alan Davis, though, because we've talked about Claremont before in the show many times. You can go back. There's new mutant issues in the X-Men issues. All right, so Alan Davis, born in Corby, England, 1956. He was working in a warehouse loading trucks, and he only considered drawing a hobby. He had no real interest of getting into comics, but he did a 5-page rework of a Captain Britain story in the British Marvel Superheroes title. And he was such a rookie, he didn't put in space for word balloons. So they had to like recut it to make it like a 6-page story instead.
Wow.
But that was like his first big break into comics. And then when Alan Moore took over writing Captain Britain, he asked Davis to come on, and Davis did 14 issues of it. And he's continued to collaborate with Moore throughout their careers. They've done a few different things together. I don't know. I'm sure you know what they are, Michael, but I read the titles and they meant nothing to me. But
okay.
Davis got his first U.S. work in 1985 when DC hired him to draw Batman and the Outsiders.
Oh yes, that's right. I've got all those.
he took over for Jim Aparo, and he drew issues 22 through 35. So Batman and the Outsiders, Michael, was that with like Soda Pop and Pony Boy? And
Not quite. This is the different Outsiders.
I was excited for that crossover now.
Yeah. Stay golden, Robin. Stay golden.
No, this was Geoforce and Halo and Looker and Black Lightning and those guys.
Looker. Was she just real foxy? Looker?
It was also a play on her superpowers. I can't remember what they were, though.
So then he took over Detective Comics in 1986. He drew issues 569 to 575. And do you know why he left DC, Michael?
No, but
this is fascinating.
No, I don't. I've always wondered that. What is the reason?
Well, he started drawing Batman Year 2, which was like a 4-issue limited series, and he drew issue 1 of it. And then the writer was a fellow named Mike W. Barr, who we've talked about on before. And the character and question here was Joe Chill. Explain who Joe Chill is, Michael.
He's the man who killed Bruce Wayne's parents.
Yeah. So, what's this? The writer here wanted Joe Chill to have an very big gun with an extended barrel. All right. And Alan Davis drew a small gun with a short barrel because that's how it had always been depicted. And I guess Frank Miller had a Batman story coming out a couple months after this where he depicts it with a small barrel. So in order to keep things, continuity intact, he drew it with a small barrel. And the editors told him to change it. They wanted a big barrel, and he said no, he will not change it, so he quit.
Wow.
Did he not realize he was working at DC where continuity doesn't matter?
Yes. I mean, really. So, yeah, he quit. Dick Giordano came in and drew the gun over. And then Todd McFarlane took over that series. He's doing issues 2, 3, and 4.
Dude, I never knew that story because it's crazy because Alan Davis had such a popular run on Detective. And now, when you go back and read Year 2, it switches artists after the first issue. And the guy who takes over is Todd McFarlane, who I love, but his style is so drastically different.
Yes.
And it's the only time he ever drew Batman. And the other weird thing about it is I believe the 2 middle chapters were inked by Alfredo Alcala, who is the most overwhelming inker of the 80s. And so it doesn't even really look like Todd McFarlane art. It's a really weird, storyline.
By the way, since you mentioned inking, we should mention Alan Davis. His normal inker usually is Paul Neary, and that's the guy who inked this as well. And he also inked the Captain Britain stuff over in Britain, and he's very good. They
excellent, right? Yeah. Perfect.
So after he left DC, Claremont invited him to do some X books. He did New Mutants annuals 2 and 3. He did 2 issues of the Uncanny X-Men, 213, right in the middle of the Mutant Massacre with Wolverine and Sabretooth fighting on the cover, and then issue 215. I think that was the old soldiers one with like the old guys that.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah.
Silver Saber or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Something like that. And they were both or Crimson Commander or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they were both those issues were 1987, and then he drew 16 of the first 24 issues of Excalibur. He returned in issue 42 as the artist and the writer.
Mm-hmm.
All told, he drew 40 of the first 67 issues of Excalibur, and he also drew that special edition that kicked everything off. Then in 1994, he created Clandestine, a team of magically powered British superheroes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Never heard of it. He drew the first 8 issues, and then when he left, the series ended after 12 issues.
Mm.
Bob, did you ever hear of Clandestine?
I've never heard of Clandestine.
Yeah. Mike Al, you're familiar with this.
I've heard of it, never read it. It was just one of those books I saw in the stands but never bought,
Yeah. Because I guess it was published by Marvel, even though I...
Mm-hmm.
He returned to Uncanny X-Men to write issues 366 to 380 in 1999-2000. I did not know that.
Yeah, I knew that.
And then he returned years later as the artist with issue 444, and he ended up drawing 13 more issues after that. So, Alan Davis, I'm a big fan of Alan Davis. Big fan. Big fan. I love his art.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. Of course, I love his work on Miracle Man with Alan Moore, but besides this, I think one of my favorite things he did was a New Mutants annual. The New Mutants. I mean, the New Mutants have got a history of great art, but this is probably the best they've ever looked. Like, it looked just perfect,
See, I can't remember if I read that. They said 2 and 3, so it's one of those 2.
Right.
Do you remember what those stories were?
I think it was.
I guess I don't know. Just look it up.
Was it Mojoverse? I don't remember. No, it couldn't have been. Wait.
No,
that would have been earlier than that.
Yeah, 2 and 3, because when did New Mutants come out? 82. So it'd probably be like 83.
Oh, the first one was Captain
the Asgard.
Britain.
The Asgard one was Art Adams.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first annual number 2 is with Psylocke and Captain Britain and Megan. Funny enough.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and then annual 3 is Impossible Man. Good art, but I do not like Impossible Man.
I like Impossible Man.
Yeah, you know what? I think I skipped both of these annuals. I think these were ones where I looked them up, like, do I need to read these stories? And I skipped them both.
See, I love Captain Britain. I had a when I was a kid, I bought a Captain Britain trade paperback, and it collected all the Jasper Warp stuff.
Right.
A few issues before it, Jamie Delano wrote, and then Alan Moore and Alan Davis, and I loved it so much because Alan Davis' art in that is so spectacular.
Right.
And
right.
He's one of my top 5 favorites. He's just so good. So anything with Alan Davis, I enjoy. Bob, how do you? Because he's real smooth and clean. Everything he does is clean. Similar to Paul Smith, I would say. And they're both British, so that's kind of weird, right? Like maybe there's a style of art that Britons prefer.
Paul Smith is American, I thought.
I thought
Paul
he's
Smith,
British.
is he? I think he's American, as far as I know.
Yeah, I'll have to look this up.
Yeah.
All right, Bob, how do you feel about Alan Davis?
Yeah, I really liked it. I've read some of the, like we said, some of the X-Men and the New Mutant stuff that he'd written, but never really stood out to me, I don't think. But as I was reading this, like, it doesn't seem like something I would really like, because it is. It's very soft. It's very smooth. It almost feels throwbacky, like something you'd see more in like the late 60s, early 70s, but it's really good. It's really detailed, and it just, yeah, as I was reading and just kind of looking through it, and it just kept sinking into me. I was like, wow, this art is really good for being not what I didn't expect to like it after the first couple pages, but as I kept reading, it's like, no, it's all really good art. Yeah, so I'm sad that he didn't do more stuff and maybe I'll read more stuff that he's done, but I was sad that he didn't do more 80s stuff that I had read previously, because it's really good.
And Paul Smith was born in Kansas City, Missouri, so yes, British, as I said.
There's a lot of British people here in Kansas City. We're kind of an offshoot.
I missed it by that much. But they have very similar styles in terms of the smoothness and how clean the lines are and everything. Yeah.
You know who's actually someone I think is similar? I'm surprised no one's ever said this. Is what's his name? Brian Hitch. Brian Hitch came along much later. At all. But if I look at, to me, like, if you were to have a fill-in by one or the other, I think the average bloke on the street wouldn't notice the difference. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think my only criticism, and it's not exclusive to him, this has happened with a lot of people, is sometimes Kitty Pryde can look like she's 30.
Yeah. And then
there's definitely
13.
Like that panel where she phased through the wall and dropped off Arcade in the Murder World. She looks like 35, 40. Yeah. Easy.
It's like, what? Maybe retry that one real quick.
Yeah. But I love the way he draws Captain Britain and Megan and everybody. It's so good. So big fan of Alan Davis. So overall, what any final thoughts, Bob, on the Excalibur 5?
I don't know. I'm not really intrigued to read more. Mostly because I don't really know Captain Britain, and kind of the way you've described it, it sounds really convoluted, and like I've got enough I have enough other stuff I want to read that doesn't really entice me. Which is disappointing, because I like Kitty Pryde, and like Nightcrawler I'm kind of just okay on, but it seemed like a cool idea. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to read more Excalibur.
Yeah, if you don't like interdimensional parallel world stuff and like more fantasy kind of things, you're not going to really like Excalibur that much, because it's more comedic tone to it as well, and more lighthearted. Hey, Michael, before the show, Bob was telling me he didn't like the Nightcrawler miniseries. Do you remember reading the Nightcrawler?
I never read that. That's Dave Cockrum, right?
Yeah.
No, I never read it.
Huh.
I will, though. It's on the list.
I read it. I just remember it had the little Bamfs, the little Nightcrawlers. Remember those little guys?
Oh,
Bamfs?
yes.
Yeah, I mean, when I was reading it, it's when I was in the middle of reading, a lot of X-Men stuff, and it's like, it was clear it wasn't vital to the story, and it was a little too lighthearted and playful, and like I think he ends up on like a pirate ship or something, and I was like, It's like, this isn't what I want right now. I may go back and read it at some point, and I never did.
Right.
But just at the time, I was like, I don't want to read this because I was reading everything chronologically, and I think something interesting was going on in the X-Men books, and like I could just be reading something I really want to read instead of reading this, so I just skipped it.
Yeah.
And that X-Men 204 where Arcade shows up, that is also a solo Nightcrawler issue where he's in Murder War.
I remember that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, so Bob, 1 to 10, what do you give Excalibur number 5?
Like a 5, I think.
Whoa.
And that's mostly because of the art. The art's really good. Like, you know what? That may not be fair. Maybe it's a 6. Like, it's not bad. It's just I think I went in with too high of hopes because I really like Arcade, and so I was let down.
Yeah, I get if you're going in without a knowledge of this world, it's going to be very confusing.
Yeah. So, I mean, as we're just ranking, because I'm basically ranking a single issue out of context, it's hard to really like this issue without knowing all the stories behind it.
Mike Gale?
I think I'm gonna give it a 6 as well. I obviously the art is probably like a 9 or 10, but the writing, even though I love Claremont, I know exactly why now. I never read Excalibur because I just somehow was able to pick up that this is exactly what it was, you know? And it's just...
you had your spidey sense.
Yeah. Like, of the first 5 issues, my favorite one is the one where they just move into the lighthouse. I think it was number 4. Because it's just, that's the only down-to-earth, story. Everything else is just all this crazy different worlds and dimensions and stuff, and it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I mean, Captain Britain got his powers through magic, so...
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. But if you can buy into it, it's fun stuff. I mean, I really like. Again, I can't recommend the Captain Britain stuff enough that Alan Moore did. And
well, you don't have to tell me that, right? Yeah. Like, obviously, I love it. Yeah.
But go read those. Jasper's Warp. It's great. So yeah, I know this world. I'm very familiar with it. So this is the first time I've read Excalibur since I was a kid. But I really enjoyed it, seeing it again. And Alan Davis's art is tremendous. Like you said, Claremont's writing could have been better. But it's still a lot of fun for me, so I give it an 8. I'm a big fan.
Ooh,
I give it
all right. All right. Well, I think my biggest issue, one more word, is that I don't really think like the X-Men characters and like this Camelot themed, British characters fit together. But on that note, next week we will be continuing the theme of King Arthur, and we're going to read Camelot 3000
oh, no.
by your buddy Mike W. Barr, who forced Alan Davis to quit Batman, and artist Brian Bolland.
Wow.
Yeah, from the Killing Joke.
Now explain what this is for the kids.
I've never read it, but I believe it is, the story of Camelot, but it's either a sequel set in the future or I don't know what, but it's in the year 3000. And it's a mixture of sci-fi and, Arthurian legend.
And this is DC, right?
Obviously.
Obviously, yes.
Super pumped.
Camelot. Hey, don't forget to read along with us, Bob. Camelot.
Oh yeah, that's one I'm definitely going to jump into.
Don't worry, Bob. I'll give you the link.
all the kids at home will be very excited for Camelot 3000. Right. So can't wait. All right.
So yeah,
well, thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Oh, thank you guys. I'm always happy to come on and chat.
Awesome.
We appreciate it.
All right, so yeah, you can find all of our episodes of Flea Market Fantasy on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, under Comic Book Syndicate. You can also follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, or the Comic Book Syndicate website. Every week we review a different Bronze Age comic. 1 week I pick, 1 week Mike Dell picks. So until next Tuesday, start!